Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Current Status. My name is Theresa Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect.
And I'm Phoummala Schmitt. You can find me on the Twitters as @ExchangeGoddess.
Hi, and I'm Steve Greenberg, mysteriously with the handle @SteveGreenberg on Twitter. And I'm a CTP based in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have a company, Thing Client Computing, that's been doing Citrix way too long, which will play into our topic tonight. And I do architecture and customer builds and different things. Interested in a lot of technology, including IoT. And my associate is with us tonight, Joe Shonk.
And that would be I, Joe Shonk. You can find me on the Twitter at Joe Shonk, Joe Joeshonk. I'm also a CTP. Been working with Steve here for what, almost 13 years now.
Yeah, he came on for a 3-month project in 2004. So.
And never left.
And never left.
You're stuck with him forever.
I just want to say I'm the only non-CTP here, so.
And don't feel bad about that. That's okay. There are non-CTPs.
We can make you an honorary CTP for the evening.
That's a
so
good
you
idea.
are a CTP now.
Honorary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm not part of the club, man.
You should hang out with me more often.
Well, the whole Citrix thing, I guess, I always thought it was dead. But apparently it's not, because the show's about Citrix Synergy. So can you
There's
guys...
3 of us left.
All right.
There's 3 of us left.
Yeah.
Not dead yet.
So to that point, we are going to talk about Citrix Synergy. The conference was a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to discuss our thoughts on what we learned while we were there, and that Citrix is very much alive, not dead, and there are some things to look forward to as the company does go through some changes, like with their new CEO.
You sure it's not dead? Because that's, that's what I keep hearing. So you guys have to dispel the myth for me and our viewers.
Well, what is it that you think? Tell us your impression before we talk about what's new at Citrix and what happened at Synergy. So you're carrying a view that a lot of people have. Like, why dead? What's the impression?
I wouldn't say dead, just more like, I don't know, slowly dying. Maybe it's the lack of excitement, innovation. It's just kind of like Citrix. Oh yeah, Citrix. Like you don't get like excited about it. Sort of like when you talk about BlackBerry. Oh yeah, is that still around?
Oh
yeah,
really?
Yeah. It's not as bad as BlackBerry, because when you think BlackBerry, like, oh my God, it's awful. Citrix, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, we used to have Citrix. Yeah, we have a couple hundred people. Like, it's just, you don't feel that excitement anymore. It just feels kind of like there. So it's really not dead, just kind of there.
How is that different from VMware? They're just kind of there too, aren't they?
Yeah, but VMware's got a lot of hype. I think a lot of it's marketing too.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
it's marketing.
It's marketing. It says, "Hey, we're still alive. We didn't die yet," even though people are like, "Oh God, the BDI." Really?
Yeah. I do think that Citrix is, in the past couple of years has not been aggressive in their marketing, and VMware has.
It's all about marketing.
And it is. So I understand the energy difference that you feel after having been at VMworld last year, but Citrix is very much alive, and I do feel that the new CEO has a direction that's really going to help with that. And one of the things I've noticed, it's not aggressive, but there's been some different marketing. Not aggressive, but I'm seeing it in spaces like they were at Tech Field Day, which I don't think they've ever done before. They did a NetScaler thing.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And then they've been doing a lot with Windows IT Pro. I got to do one of the webinars with Citrix on Windows 10 and virtualization recently. And those are spaces that I'd never had seen Citrix do marketing in the past. So I do see some things changing from that perspective.
Well,
But
that's
it
good.
doesn't seem aggressive.
Yeah, it almost seems like they didn't put enough vodka in the punch. Yeah. There's not enough alcohol in the Kool-Aid. So you're drinking it, you're like, okay, it's just Kool-Aid. Where, VMware, you're like, yeah, this is Kool-Aid, they want more. Even though it's
So,
probably they probably bought from the same Walmart, it's just somebody went to a liquor store and spiked, 3 bottles of vodka versus maybe 1 bottle.
so VMware jacked up the punch. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Right.
marketing. Well, even Microsoft, when you walk away from TechEd or Ignite, formerly known as TechEd, I mean you're drunk. You're like, oh, Microsoft is so awesome. Look at all these products, and you're just getting this overload. But Citrix, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. So maybe they need to spike it a little bit more.
Well, I can tell you I left Synergy more excited than I have in previous years.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that was great to hear that point of view. We all just came from Synergy. We're very involved. When people complain about Citrix and to Citrix, it's our group that's the worst. The CTPs and the resellers and the consultants. We're passionate about it. And it's been a kind of a tough few years. I mean, it's not like Citrix ever went away, but it didn't have the appeal, and seemed like it was losing some direction. But a lot of good things happened at this Synergy, and we were very lucky to have multiple encounters with Kirill Tatarinov, the new CEO. So on the Sunday before Citrix, CTPs had a meeting with him, and then I got to meet him in a partner meeting as well. And to Phoummala's point, I think you're going to see a lot more aggression and confidence and message. This is a really smart man who comes from Microsoft and other companies, who has done this before, who gets the partnering channel. He's got an engineering background, and I was just very impressed. He came in and said the right things, and it wasn't sugar-coated, and it wasn't fluffy. He acknowledged the things that they've done wrong and the things they've done right. And I think, as Theresa was saying, sitting through the keynote was the first time I got pretty rah-rahed up in a while. You had the CEO of Microsoft on stage by video. You had Brandon Anderson from Microsoft there, basically reigniting the Citrix Microsoft, which was always the power. That was always the history. It was Citrix and Microsoft together, and they're better together. That message is back, and a really good focus on the products. So I definitely understand that point of view, but I think now more than ever, Citrix has kicked it in, and they're doing a lot right, and it's been a while since I could say that.
That's interesting you say that the CEO of Microsoft and Brad Anderson were on stage, because they did the same thing at VMworld.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like there's a lot of kumbaya, holding hands, saying we love each other with a different.
Yeah, they're not monogamous.
No, they're not. Man, they're cheating bastards, aren't they?
Show me the money.
I know. It's like you turn around. It's like, wait, you were just hugging, kissing me. Now you're hugging that dude. Like, hey,
Microsoft makes money both ways. If you
yeah,
license,
exactly.
you sell Windows licenses, you sell VMU license. Well, you sell Microsoft licenses. So either way, Microsoft wins.
Oh yeah, he's like the sugar daddy. You're, the crack dealer. It's like, hey, just come and get it. It's very interesting that there is lots of love.
So how do they position that at VMworld with Brad Anderson and VMware, considering this whole idea of opening up the Splod license for desktop OSs is going to be an Azure only type solution?
They had a different executive on stage. So, but it was still, a Microsoft executive pretty much showing the love between VMware, shaking hands, saying we love each other. we're in this project together, and you know, all that fun, fluffy
Yeah.
stuff.
But that sounds like they sent the Secretary of State, not the President and Vice President.
Yeah. It was more
Correct.
like, yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, they sent Hillary, okay.
Or you could have John Kerry, but you can't have Obama, you know.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that Joe hit on that was in the Citrix Microsoft announcement was you could never actually get a license to do VDI in the cloud, the public cloud before. They didn't have a license. It was only a service provider license for server hosted. And they are now doing that. Now, it's limited in scope. As Joe said, it's Azure only, and it's only through enterprise licenses that the customer owns and a few other restrictions. But for the first time ever, you can do VDI up in Azure. And no one else's cloud has a license enablement for that. So it's a big deal in terms of this is the first time that it's actually doable. I don't know what it's going to mean. We can talk about that. But that, to me, is a little deeper than just showing up on stage. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember at VMworld with that announcement. Was that more in the mobility space, Phoummala, that they brought that up?
Yeah. Well,
I feel like it was.
Their end user computing.
So it was, okay.
They
It was easy.
were taking a hit out at Citrix.
Right.
If you sat at that keynote. So
Yeah.
that's the summary of it.
Yeah. Well, and at Synergy, it was actually, well, wasn't it pre-recorded or was it was it live?
It was
Satya.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, Satya was
Satya
pre-recorded,
joined.
but Brad Anderson was there in person.
Correct.
Did he wear his tight jeans?
He always does. He works out a lot.
Yeah, he does. He has his guns. He makes sure he carries his guns with him.
The other thing,
I'm going to get in so much trouble for that.
Yeah, you mentioned mobility, and that was another really interesting announcement that we didn't really see coming, is Microsoft and Citrix aligning on mobility. It's a little bit unclear because Citrix has the Zen Mobile product, but
Yeah.
they described it as them working together, and that you can use EMS Intune from Microsoft and expand it with Zen Mobile. Some people perceive that as Zen Mobile is going to go away, but the point is Microsoft's coming out and saying Citrix is a strategic partner and a platform for mobility and for VDI in the cloud. It's kind of a big deal.
It is, but to be honest, I think Intune is just glorified ActiveSync. I just got done piloting it for my own day job. I wasn't too impressed with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how this partnership with Citrix goes.
Do you use something else now? Do you have like AirWatch or another product?
I can't disclose what we use, but it's crap.
Okay.
That's the summary of my.
But it is another product in mobility.
Yes, it is.
Right,
yes,
okay.
it is a leading provider that I think is junk and crap. But yeah, I am actively looking to replace it. But at the time, I'm going through all the vendors, and it's frustrating because obviously everybody says, "Hey, we're the best," and and you go through it, and you're like, "Well, you don't meet my needs."
Kind of like dating.
Yeah, it is. It's speed dating. My God, it's it's like, oh my God, they should have like one of those online. It's like an online dating site where you go and you put your profile up, and you're like, do you meet everything? But it is. I've gone through 3 or 4 different vendors already in the past 7 months, and everyone's been next so far. They just, I'm hard to date.
So to Steve's point,
for applications, then.
What was that?
You want to tender for applications where you can, this app swipe left, this app swipe left, all right?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. Or is it a comment?
That was more of a comment.
Okay. So you're saying
That's sort of a dating site for applications.
Oh.
You went straight to the Tinder. Phoummala was thinking more like, Match.com. He went for the software hookup.
Yeah,
I
I
see.
I've never tried Tinder. I think my husband would probably get mad at me if I tried
Yes, he
Tinder.
would.
Actually, we were watching TV. I'm like, oh, Match.com. My neighbor was here. I'm like, we should sign up. And he looks at me. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, yeah, it's a dating site. Just, yeah, yeah. It was a joke. And he's just like, that you can't sign up for that. I'm like, who says I can? Did stop Ashley Madison.
So to Steve had mentioned that we're not sure what the Zen Mobile Intune, what that will look like in the end. Um, I'm hoping it is something better. I personally haven't used Intune, but what I've heard of Intune kind of matches what you said, Phoummala, and that it doesn't kind of meet the needs of the organizations the way it should. I think it's not as feature rich
Mm-hmm.
as some of the other products. So we will see, but I think it's a good thing that Zen Mobile or Citrix will be working with Microsoft in that space. I think that could bring something good.
Is there a timeline? Like, I mean, do they have like any betas? I'm actually really interested in that from my day job perspective because we're actually a Citrix customer as well. We've got several thousand users using Citrix.
In terms of
So,
the
Well,
beta, I don't
yeah,
believe
like
anything's publicly released yet.
that'd be
Correct me if I'm
interesting.
wrong,
so
Steve or Joe.
Zen Mobile exists, and you can run it,
Right.
like on-prem or in a hosted mode. And I don't know what Microsoft has today in Azure for Intune, but I think they have something. And they announced that they would work together, but I don't know precisely
Intune,
what.
yeah, Intune's in the cloud. It's all in the
Yeah,
cloud.
so that's there, but I don't think the two combined have like a date or
Okay.
an announcement yet.
They're
Um,
just talking about a date. They haven't actually put the
yeah, they
location
haven't
yet.
consummated the
Correct.
date yet.
Yeah, how darn.
But the other big trajectory in all of this, which plays into what you're asking, is Kirill, the new CEO of Citrix, stating unequivocally that Citrix is going to the cloud, that Citrix
Mm-hmm.
tools will be cloud-based, and that
Ah,
there'll be offerings that are purely
yeah.
cloud-based. Those two don't have specific time frames on them, but I'm wearing the shirt of the artist formerly known as Citrix Workspace Cloud, and they've
Right.
rebranded that and all of the other cloud offerings into Citrix Cloud. So there's now
Oh,
one Citrix Cloud, and all of these services are related to it.
more Kool-Aid.
More Kool-Aid, and they
Mhm.
jacked up the alcohol content in the Kool-Aid too.
Yep.
Yeah, this whole cloud thing. I think it's really
It
definitely interesting.
it might catch on.
I know. I don't know about this, you know. I really don't know if this cloud thing
Well,
is really going to catch on, Teresa. It's just too much hype.
Well, let me ask you guys, because Joe and I are consultants and field people. You guys both represent, in addition to your industry analyst type role, end user, organizations.
Yep.
So
Yep.
when you guys hear cloud or our offerings will be in the cloud or customers should go to the cloud, what do you think? What does that mean to you guys, from the user point of view, the customer?
For security is the first thing that comes to
Yeah.
mind. And I don't feel that everything for every organization will go to the cloud. It's very use case specific and it depends on the type of data. So I like to look at it as hybrid. I think it'll be a long time for some industries to do anything like an entire business in the cloud unless they're small. The SMB is probably already there, but mid-size to large, not.
You know what's funny
Yeah.
about that? That's, I think, the conventional wisdom, and that's what I would think. But one of the
Mhm.
things they were saying actually during keynote, and they brought some of those customers on stage, super large financial organizations
Mhm.
that want to go cloud, which is
Yep.
really surprising.
I, th- I
'Cause you,
think I think they want upper management. I think wants to go to cloud because they think there's this perception that there's this huge cost savings, and maybe there is, but at the same time, you have your security lead going, wait a minute, do we meet all our security requirements? And then the cost of putting data up there. So management wants you to go but then at the end of the day, the people would actually do it, and we're crunching the numbers, and it turns out, you know what? It's going to cost us a little bit more than what was initially planned because we have 73 terabytes of data just
Right.
for this one application. It's going to cost us X, Y, Z, and really it was projected to be just Z.
Yeah, yeah, that's common. I hear that same
Yeah.
story all the time. And then yet I hear these other stories about huge successes. So I think Theresa mentioned use case based. Email. People are flocking to 365 as their
Oh
email
yeah.
service,
Oh, they
Yeah.
right?
are. You know
And
what? I would love it, but at the same time, in the industry I'm at, it's tough because there's so many restrictions, and then you've got legal holds, and you have to keep it for a gazillion
Mhm.
years. Um, and then if you want to bring it back, how do you do that with the.
yeah,
And then the cost of keeping everything until infinity. Um, I
Yep.
think it's tough, but I'm all for going to cloud with email because that's less servers I got to manage. You figure
Well,
if you have
yeah.
normally 16 servers, that's 16 servers less I got to manage. Now it's just I really don't have to manage anything. It's just a tier 1, tier 2 function
Mhm.
then.
I think a lot of organizations they want to get out of the IT business or out of the at least the IT infrastructure business.
They do, yes. I hear
Yeah,
that. I hear
You
that a
know,
lot, but they
I
still
do
need it
too.
though. They
they spend a lot of money, they spend a lot of time. There's upgrades and outages all the time, and there's a lot of. I don't know about your guys' organization, but even within our customers, there's a lot of politics between
Yes.
IT and the rest of the organization, and even within IT teams with networking, server groups, desktop groups,
oh, there's
uh,
silos.
stuff like that. So if they can basically take that and ship that out into the cloud, there's a couple less things they have to worry about. They just worry about the application itself. And then some vendor in the back end is always keeping it, um, what is it, evergreen.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're leaving you're leaving all your eggs in that basket, and let's say they have an outage. Well, you call and you're customer number 5,699. You have to wait in line.
Mhm.
Getting that instant service may not be as quick as before. You can't pace up and down the hallway in the cubicle of your server admin because you don't have any more server admins. Now, you've got a tier 1 help desk that's putting a call into the vendor and you're in the queue and your email's down. So I think there are some pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree that there's that myth that you can get rid of your IT department, but I don't think you really can. You're still going to need some people
I
around.
would yeah, I would agree. You need some almost infrastructure people around that can handle and manage those types of calls because at the end of the day, leadership is still looking for somebody to figure out why email's down. So if you've moved to the cloud, they're still going to want that person, that go-to be managing the situation, even though they can't, from a technical perspective, do anything about it.
So
Interesting.
basically have a liaison, not an engineer on site.
Potentially. Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you guys from the customer point of view. As an integrator, my concerns more are about data locality, and I think Phoummala hit on this. Is like our customer, we go and do like let's say a Citrix project, 1,000 or 2,000 users, whatever. They're going to have like 400 applications. They hardly even know what they have. There's databases all over the place, and all these apps talk to each other. So I could definitely see you carve off email, things like SaaS providers, Salesforce, and increasingly there'll be more and more of them. But most organizations we deal with, they have like business critical applications with lots of tiers and data and interactions. And like, I just don't know how you're going to pick that up and move it. They hardly don't even know what they have as it is today. It's a struggle just to keep it running, and you know, getting a good app list for most organizations is hard. So you could probably do it, but you have to really know your environment at a level that's pretty uncommon. Exactly what people are using, exactly who maintains what apps, where the data resides, and you'd have to move them all at once. I mean, you'd have to move them one at a time, which is doable. And I think this will happen, but it will not be a wholesale change. It will be looking for the use cases that it's a good fit for. You know, I don't think most businesses are ever going to stop running their proprietary in-house application that they wrote in-house for a long time.
Right. Yeah, those are the ones still running on Windows 2003.
And Fox Pro and Access.
Steve, if you were going to build a new application today, right, would you be building it on 2003 so they could live in your data center, or would you be using cloud technologies and write that application so it can run in the cloud?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, yeah, you'd want to do what you just said. The second piece is that you'd want to get off of 2003. But the unfortunate thing is that many organizations still have stuff that can't move. You know, some guy in a garage that wrote the application years ago and it can't move.
Yeah, and it runs on IE6 or IE7.
Yeah.
Super things.
Runs your payroll system.
Yeah, I think Joe hit on the nail on the head. If you're going to write a new app today, you're going to write it in any number of open cloud frameworks that you probably develop it on the cloud, deploy it on the cloud, test it on the cloud, scale it on the cloud. And that's how new apps are and should be written. There's just a lot of apps out there. It's going to be a long time before that fully shifts. But some big players with big money and big technology, Microsoft, now Citrix, Google, Amazon, VMware, they all want to get there. So, you know, didn't Microsoft reveal they spent over $8 billion on building out Azure?
Yeah,
sure,
but they're
more
not.
now.
I don't know. Yeah, they're. Yeah, they
also spent $1 billion buying Nokia and paying Nokia $1 billion to put Windows OS on their phones.
They're spending a lot of money on Azure and their, I guess, what is it, their data centers. They're investing a lot into it. Even from the hardware perspective, I mean that's where all their money is going to. It's their their cloud data centers.
It's their strategy.
Oh my gosh, you know, I think most of you guys, my husband he's not in the IT industry, but his job gives us a job. He designs high speed IO connectors, and you know, he works with the same vendors that we do, and what they're asking for, it's just absolutely incredible speeds, and they're focusing on these data centers. You know, they want their data centers to be, you know, fast and a lot of data, a lot of throughput. So it's incredible to see what Microsoft and these big players and how much they're investing in. It all comes to the cloud and the Internet of Things at the end of the day.
You know, there's a dynamic there that Citrix very specifically stated at Synergy 2, which is the idea of cloud first. So we develop for the cloud, on the cloud, and that's very powerful. But that's also rebounded back into the enterprise. So a lot of what's in Server 2012 and 2016 from Microsoft came from their experience in Azure. And they build these capabilities into Server OS, and then it becomes a product. And they've been running like 2016 for a long time in Azure. And then when they get to a certain point, they say, okay, now it's the enterprise build. And so I think there's also this rebound effect that, yes, the cloud brings a bunch of great things, but now these same high-speed interfaces that Phoummala's husband is designing, you can buy for your server too. So it gets even more confusing because NVMe memory, storage, flash, microservers, there's so much happening that, you know, you can take a big data center and put it in like a few U. We've been doing that a lot with hyperconvergence. So it's a fun time to be doing this. It's getting more and more interesting.
I'm going to say the next year, the stuff that's going to come out is just going to blow everyone's mind. I mean, they're just it's amazing, and it's all going to go to these, you know, data centers that it's supporting the cloud. I mean, there's definitely a big push from all the big vendors. What they're trying to do, and it's like they all join like the secret club, this cloud club. Let's get everybody to buy into it.
So it's like the wine club.
It is. I think
for the cloud.
I know. cloud wine. Maybe they go and they drink and have Kool-Aid, and have Skittles there, and there's unicorns flying around. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or do you
I
think
don't know
maybe
either.
they've made alien contact and the aliens are preparing a
Possibly.
interplanetary cloud?
Possibly
It could
that
be.
could be it. Yeah, that could, maybe they're harvesting us or something. I don't know. But there's this big
Oh,
shift though. I mean, it's like everybody wants everybody to join the club. Come on, you can do it. You're gonna
yeah.
come anyway. At some point, you can't resist us.
Yeah. So, well, we're at time.
Oh my
We
gosh.
Really?
actually we're overtime a little bit,
Wow.
aren't we? Yeah.
See, it's fun, isn't it?
It's fun. It goes fast.
I have to
But
say, guys, you have the most fun, like, chill podcast. It's so much fun to talk to you guys, and I can't believe that we've already used up all that time.
Thank you. That
yeah,
means a
thank
lot. As
you.
I'm, drinking wine and I just had my salad here in front of everybody. It's healthy. It's not dessert this time, everyone. I'm not eating ice cream
Yeah.
like I usually, or cheesecake or some dessert.
French fries.
Yeah,
Those aren't
I have a
dessert though.
raspberry sponge cake over there on the counter that I must start eating. So.
Oh, speaking of raspberry, I have to say one more Citrix thing before
Oh,
we
that's
wind
right. We
down.
knew we were
The
forgetting
Raspberry Pi,
something.
the announcement for the Raspberry Pi thin client,
Mm-hmm.
$99 retail with management, a
Oh wow.
high-performance HDX thin client. Does Joe have one to hold up? There it
I was gonna
is.
say they're tiny. They're
Oh,
adorable.
can you speak, Joe? Because then when you speak, you're like everyone can see you. Speak with the Raspberry Pi.
If you
You
talk, the
got to
screen will
speak,
switch
Joe.
to you.
Oh, it's on my screen. It's backwards. Yeah, it's just a. I can open the thing up.
You do do it like a Vanna White thing, like hold it and talk about it.
Woo! So Raspberry Pi 3, basically. In a nice little plastic case provided by ViewSonic. Apparently, according to this is a signature edition. Don't know what
Ooh.
that means. And there's a signature on the side of it. I don't know who.
That's the creator of Raspberry Pi.
What?
That's the creator of the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, Eben? He's the creator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can pre-order them now. I just wanna. I haven't had the opportunity to play with mine yet. Have you guys? I think most people have. You guys have been doing some OctaBlue stuff with yours, right?
Not this one, but yeah. I have a couple of these Raspberry Pis and a couple of Arduinos. This one, yeah, I just took out of the box right before we started this podcast. So, no, I haven't plugged it in to see what the Citrix receiver looks like on it. But it's on the list of things to do.
I know it's on mine too. All right, well, with that, let's close out the show with some pie.
Yeah,
Raspberry Pi.
I think I do have a berry pie over there too, and my raspberry sponge cake. So I think I might
Nice.
have some.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve and Joe, so much for joining us. It was great having you on. And thank you to all of our guests for
Yes,
joining us for Current Status.
yeah. Thank you for enlightening and pretty much saying Citrix is alive. So yeah, that's awesome.
I
Thanks,
think the
everybody.
final statement is Citrix is back, and Microsoft kind of has their back, and there's some excitement and buzz, and we'll come back and maybe, in whatever, a year or so, and we'll revisit this and see how they did executing on their new message.
Can we maybe we'll get rights to play Justin Timberlake's, bringing sexy back or something. We'll try next year. You never know. Okay, everybody, thank you and have a great evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Thanks.